Hey guys, I know I've already done 2 videos on this, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more on the new Stephen King's It movie that's going to be coming out this year, September 8th, that I am so totally stoked about. In specific, I wanted to talk about the trailer this time and how I think that this movie is, well, in certain regards, just via what I picked up from the trailer, I think that this movie is going to be great, but there are certain concerns that I've had, and I would like to address these now. Now, for those of you who have not read the book, Stephen King's It, you should probably shut off this video because it is going to contain spoilers for things that, and actually it contains potential spoilers for things that may happen in the movie. If you have read the book, then this is the video for you, because this is basically theorizing like what's going to happen, what the similarities are going to be, how loyal the book is going to be, and how it may not be so loyal. First thing I'd like to bring up is, as far as imagery goes, this film looks like absolutely spot on. Now, I know that this film takes place in the 80s instead of the 50s, which, frankly, I'm okay with, given that, you know, this is a modern movie, and it's like, at this point in time, the 80s does seem like quite a while ago, so that seems like, you know, acceptable. Now, the slideshow, holy fucking shit, because in the book, it's actually a lot similar to what happens in the original miniseries, where they're looking through, you know, Mike Hanlon's, you know, photo album of all the disasters that happened in Derry and stuff like that. In this one, there's a slideshow, and the slideshow starts going out of control, and it starts going faster and faster and faster, and it sort of like animates like the fucking clown. It starts zooming in on this lady's face, and the hair starts pulling away, and you see the clown face and shit. Like, I think that that's just fucking brilliant, personally, because it really, it doesn't ruin anything. It goes like with the plot of the story. It does happen, I mean, it happens differently in the book, but it's really the same idea. They took like the same idea and they brought it in a new direction, and I respect that and I like that. Also, the decrepit house that you see in the trailer, that's very obviously the house on Neibolt Street, and if you look very, very quickly, you can see this figure, a man, chasing after Eddie, and that is the leper. Which was in the book, which is so fucking fucked up, but it's very apparent that like that was the direction that they're trying to go with that. Another thing that I found interesting is Mike Hanlon. All right, if you watch the trailer, there is a scene where Mike Hanlon is backing away from a door, and there's all these hands that are like reaching out of the door, and there's all these flames coming from inside. That's supposed to be the black spot, which a huge part of the book, I mean, they only really touch on it in the miniseries, but Mike Hanlon's father, like, really makes it, first of all, Mike Hanlon's father is a character in the book, and his history with Henry Bauer's father is so much more in depth, it's so much more fleshed out, and so much, I mean, really cooler. Like, you know, all the characters in the book are really well defined, and frankly, in the miniseries as well, they are also well defined, and that's one thing that I'm actually worried about, but we'll get to that. But yeah, like the black spot, it was this industrial like fire that happened, and all these people basically burned alive, like hundreds of people, and it was basically, it was, you know, caused by it. And Mike's father is telling him this story. Now, in the book, Mike's personal experience with it is he actually sees it as Rodan, that fucking giant Japanese pterodactyl fucking thing that, you know, I don't know. But anyway, it chases him down this like pipe thing, and the pathway gets more and more narrow as Rodan is like going after him and stuff. But the way it looks like from the trailer is, instead of that happening, they're going to go with the black spot. Like, Mike is going to show up at this place, and he's going to see these people being like basically like burned alive, which I mean, is actually pretty fucking disturbing, but awesome, and it really does go with the whole theme of the book. And, you know, I've also seen other shit like online, like they have a gigantic Paul Bunyan statue, which I believe is actually something that Richie Tozier sees when he's an adult and he goes back to Derry. So in terms of like actual like substance and imagery and stuff like that, it looks like this movie is going to be so much more loyal to the book. That, and the fact that it's going to be rated R, means that it's not going to have the restrictions that the original miniseries did. So that's fucking great too. The one concern that I have, and it is a potentially pretty big thing, is the characters, okay? The characters in the book are so well defined. I feel like I am personally a part of the Losers Club for even having read that book. Like, that is how in-depth these characters are, that is how well I understand them, and that is how well I love them. And for those of them who die, that is all the more that I feel fucking awful for them, okay? The characters are a humongous part of this story. They're a pivotal part of this story, really. And the one thing that I'm worried about is that in this new movie, they might not do those characters justice. That's my biggest concern. They picked the kid from Stranger Things, the main kid, to play Richie Tozier. And granted, I haven't seen any of his lines, I haven't seen any of his performance, but from what they have depicted so far, he just seems like kind of a dork. Which, yes, Richie Tozier is a dork, but he's also a wise ass. That is really what Richie Tozier is at his core. He's a fucking sarcastic wise ass. And that's why he's part of the Losers Club. It's like he's such a sarcastic fucking bastard that most people would probably be like, dude, fuck you, you're an annoying piece of shit. Like, all of the Losers Club had their own individual quirks that made them part of the Losers Club. Also, and this is another thing about the trailer, I've heard a couple lines from Bill Denborough, and I have not heard a stutter. And that potentially bothers me. Because, you know, you could say what you want about the miniseries. It hasn't aged well. You could say that the spider is really lame, that they didn't maintain that sort of like that was in the book, that like sort of like evil intellectual like monster that was still retained even after it was revealed as the spider. They didn't have that in the original miniseries, probably because they didn't have the budget. However, the miniseries nailed the characters, and that is why to this day I fucking love the miniseries. I absolutely adore it. It's not without its flaws. Why does it hate? Why is it so mean? It's like, you know, there's certain parts that you can't help but laugh at. It just has not aged well and probably really never was that great to begin with. But I cared about all these people. I felt like I knew them as kids, and I could see all of the adult actors, like really, I could see all those kids growing into those adult actors, you know, and that was such a big part. That's what made the dumb-ass fucking spider at the end kind of excusable, you know, is like, I know these people and I want to see them succeed, and like I care about them, and this is what's keeping me going. I know where these people are coming from, and there's this sort of like sense of, you know, like an otherworldly sense of, you know, they were supposed to do this. They were meant to do this. The characters are such a fucking devastatingly important part of this story, and I just really, really pray that they get that right. I'm not, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, like, oh, it looks like they're gonna fuck it up. No, I'm just simply saying that based on what I've seen visually, it looks like they're gonna nail it. Like, in terms of substance, it looks like they're gonna nail it. But if they have all that and they can't get the characters right, you know,